Welcome to the Fierce Goddess Collective. From our hearts to yours, we share the gifts of beautiful goddesses to the world.
Hello, beautiful people. Welcome to the Fierce Goddess Collective. And Amanda and I are going to have a chat. Let's chat time with us today. And we're going to talk about some different topics with our chat times. And today's topic is
woo-woo. Simply woo-woo. People, woo-woo.
So all things woo-woo. And, you know, you hear people say, I don't believe in that. That's woo-woo. That's not, that's fantasy land because that's woo-hoo. You know, you hear of that, don't you?
Yeah, you do. You do. And I think to me, woo-woo is when people can't touch or tangible. It's not tangible. They can't see it. You know, they can't hear it. It's not something that's in front of them 3D. It's something that's a bit, woo-woo. So that to me is what people think woo-woo is, you know. So, I mean, for example, we said before, it was like intuition is something that people go, nah, not real, you know. But hey, a lot of people will say someone is going to phone them, and they phone them, and then they're like, oh, just coincidence. No such thing as coincidences.
Absolutely. And we know with intuition, there's a science too around intuition. Quantum physics around intuition. If you need to have that sense of confirmation that there's a science around it. So just like what you were saying, just because we can't see it doesn't mean it's not real.
Totally. Absolutely. But I think the age that we are in right now, particularly in the last 2 years, it has become quite a subject that is discussed openly on social media. I've really noticed it's come to the forefront. You know, people are videotaping things that they're doing now, things that they're seeing. I mean, some of it can be quite creepy and quite scary, but it's out there, and people are really starting to get a grip on it and go, okay, maybe this is something that's real. What about you? Have you seen anything that kind of shows that it's coming to the forefront?
Oh, with woo stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah, I do. There's a researcher called David Feinstein, and he has done a lot of research around woohoo, like things like Reiki, crystals, hands-on healing, intuition, and to actually see if it does work and to see if there is a validity to it. And basically, it came down to, even if all of these therapies were just, and I'm not saying they're not, if they were just placebo effect, that in itself means it's real. Because
that's exactly right.
Yeah, because placebo means it's the mind is believing, the mind is changing, the body is responding. If that is happening for you, then it's real.
Yeah.
Irrelevant. Totally. Yeah, exactly. So if we believe it enough to make it real for ourselves, then it's real.
Yeah. Yeah, that is such a good point. It's such a good point. Because, I mean, you know, they even use that in studies when they do the testing of medications.
Yeah.
You know, they bring out a certain amount of the medications and then a certain amount are placebos to see what happens. And I mean, I've heard people say, look, if someone's giving me a placebo but it's working, then hey, I'll keep taking it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't know, do you call imagination and visualization woohoo? Like, is it really woohoo? Because that is a whole modality in itself, you know, visualizing, prepping the brain, rehearsing the brain. Athletes use it, successful business, like people use that as a means of supporting their bodies and their minds.
Yeah, well, it's just teaching your mind, isn't it, to think a different way. which is what a lot of people have done to become successful, because we're always bombarded, and it seems to be the mind's natural thing to go down the negative path.
Yeah.
You know, self-talk is just negative. I found from years ago, you know, it was always negative, and it always bamboozled me as to how that started, that we just go negative.
I know.
You know, it's a natural thing, is just go negative.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whereas we have to be trained to go positive.
I know. I agree. And there's research that says, biologically we're wired for that negative thinking because of, saber-toothed tigers and always looking out for safety and all of that, which I don't doubt is part of it. But as you said, why can't we rewire for positivity? Why can't we rewire for the things that we do want? Because we know what we don't want, but why not rewire for the things we do want?
Well, that's exactly right. And I mean, a lot of people, I suppose a lot of people have read Donna Hay. You know, she was amazing woman when it came to all that sort of affirmations and speaking to yourself in the mirror in the mornings and being positive and changing the way that you think. And by changing the way that you think, then that ultimately, excuse me, changes the way that you see the world, and you attract in better things. So, yeah, I suppose law of attraction is another woo, because a lot of people don't believe that is real either. I mean, you've still got to work and you've still got to take the steps to get to where you want to go. But if you've got the wrong mindset, ultimately you're not going to get there. Yeah. Or if you do get there, it's not going to last.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, it's fascinating. It's really fascinating to see all that. And I mean, on another note, and I'll go back to what I've said before about the seminar that I did, and I was lucky to do in Melbourne years ago, by Teymara, and the clearings that she does, that literally it's so hard to explain to someone who hasn't done it. I went to the seminar and I mean, I was shit scared because I didn't know what was going to happen. She talked to me about, oh, you've got all these negative thoughts and this is why this has happened in your life and this has happened. And we'll go through the first day and we'll do meditation and we'll clear everything out of your mind. And I'm thinking, you're going to clear everything out of my mind? Oh, shit. I'm not going to be able to think afterwards. And I remember, it was so simple just to lie there and go through the meditations and stuff. And there was other learnings that we had to do before that. But I was driving home that evening after that first session, and my brain normally used to go 100 miles an hour. Like, I've got to do this, got to do that. What's this? Oh, you look shit today. You look, your brain just goes, whoa. I had to make myself think.
Oh, wow.
I was just so clear. There was no bombardment. There was nothing. It was quite scary to start with. I mean, I was driving home and I was thinking, I'm not thinking anything. Is that normal? I'm really not thinking anything. And it's mind-blowing to actually experience that. And I mean, the best part is, I would lie on the pillow that night and normally my brain would go into overdrive and my sleep patterns would just crap back then. I just went straight to sleep. And it still happens like that. I don't have the chitter-chatter that goes on in your brain when you're trying to go to sleep. So, I mean, a lot of people think that's woohoo. But I can tell you it works. It absolutely works. And, yeah, she's done amazing, phenomenal work, this woman. I will put her link down below because she is amazing. So, yeah, and, that's just another part of woohoo. But I think for a lot of people, until they experience it, they find it very difficult to believe that it could actually occur.
Yeah. Yeah. And I agree. I think once you experience it and you feel it, then you think that's for me, or I'm a believer, or, your mind starts to open up to other possibilities. Yeah.
Totally agree with you. Totally agree. I mean, when we did our course with you on intuition, and I mean, I know that, there's woo-woo out there and stuff's happened to me before. And I was like, yeah, whatever. But I didn't think that I ever had the capability to hear or see stuff. And a lot of people would probably say, oh, look, It's your own voice. It's your own voice telling you stuff, you know? It's not anything else. Well, I'm here to tell you that it is not my own voice, because it just comes like that. Like you might be, and we know this is a bit weird and I'm not trying to be risque, but a lot of things come to me when I'm in the shower, because I'm relaxed and I'm just standing, because I stand in the shower and I just stand there because I love the shower. And I won't be thinking about anything. And then all of a sudden something come into my head and I'll be like, you know, it's something so far out of what I'm actually even relating to that it's not me. It's totally not me. It's not a thought pattern that I would have. It's not something that I've been doing throughout the day. It's just something that is so far out of my realm that it's like, oh, okay, got it. It's bizarre, but it's unbelievable. And it's so much fun when it happens.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah. And I think for you, especially with your intuition, that has led you and guided you to make some big, you know, magnificent changes in your life.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm more of a believer now that I should listen to myself a bit more and not just, you know, keep banging my head against the brick wall until I actually fall down because I've knocked myself out.
That's right. How many times do we have to hit our head before we go, oh, I got that one now?
Yeah, absolutely. But what about you? I mean, God, because I know your story. I've heard, you know, you've told me what's happened to you as a child and when we were left school and all this sort of jazz.
Yeah.
Yeah, tell us some stories.
Yeah, I know, and this is very recently about intuition. We were looking for a house for our family to move together, like my daughter, her boyfriend, her animals, and the other daughter. And our other house was too small, so we needed to find a bigger house that could have self-contained downstairs and self-contained upstairs. And we looked, and I found a beautiful house. I went, oh, this is it. I walked inside and it didn't feel right. I went, I really like the look of this, but it just didn't feel right. Like it had the boho. It looks just so gorgeous. Rainforest in the back. I thought, I want this. It's so good. A deck. I'm thinking, but it didn't feel right. It just didn't have the vibe. It just felt, you know, when you walk into a house and you know the feeling's off. Yep. You can't explain what the feeling is, but it just doesn't feel good. No. And so I thought, oh, I'll see what the price is. Like maybe the price will sway me, you know? Well, we did the price. We did a building report. It had asbestos through it, had concrete leaking through it, had everyone thought, that was interesting. Then we came to another house. My beautiful hubby said to me, oh, see this house. And I went, no, I'm not interested. Anyway, he said, look, just pacify me and sit in the car and come to the house. So he drove me straight up to the front of the house. And I went, this is it. This is it. And I looked at it and I felt the fields and it felt joyful. It felt happy. It felt light. It felt easy. Walked upstairs. Perfect setup upstairs, perfect setup downstairs. The guy who was selling it could not have been more friendly, more helpful, more obliging than he was. And the sale was easy and effortless. Yeah. And in our heads, we had a price. We thought, this is the price we're going to offer. It was exactly to that dollar that he said. And we thought, okay, this is it. This is it. So wow. It is interesting how you can work with that woohoo stuff, your intuition as your own guiding force.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that because remember what happened to me with my townhouse, because 12 months before I sold it, I thought, I'm going to sell it. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. We're going to move. We're going to be with my mum who's in her 80s and the house. Yep. Okay. And it just didn't feel right. To the point where I was like, what the heck? But then when it did happen, which was 12 months later, we got more money than what we ever expected. And it just was so effortless. Like you're right. Everything just falls into place so easily. It's amazing how, and you sort of sit back after it's all done and think, oh, that was easy. Wow. It's definitely meant to be. I'm in the right place. I'm doing the right thing. Absolutely.
Yes.
But yeah, people need to listen to that so much more. And I mean, I need to do it too. But yeah, I can't preach at all. Oh my gosh.
It's interesting. Like, you can't see it, intuition, but you can definitely feel it or hear it. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
And do you call that woohoo stuff? Do you sort of go, oh, well, that's not true? Like, I don't know.
I think the biggest woohoo for me wake up was when I started to really feel stuff. Like, to the point where, I mean, and I had, for those who are listening to this or watching it, I had to go back to Tosca and get some, some mentoring, because I just did not know how to cope with it. It was bizarre. And I think the worst thing, and I've had it before previously, like I've gone, when I was actually looking for somewhere to buy, I went to a Queenslander it was beautiful. It was like what you said. You turned up to this house, it's in the most beautiful sort of area, and it's got surrounded by trees, and it's a Queenslander. And I went upstairs, and oh my God, I had to hold on, because I get this when things aren't right. And I thought, no, this is, and I get this really weird feeling, and it's like I'm going to fall over, and I had to get out, because, I was like, God, what's wrong with me? Have I got vertigo or something? And then I was in a crystal shop, and this is before I actually got in touch with Tosca, and I walked in, they had a separate crystal room where they had all the crystals, and I wanted to get some crystals because, to make candles and stuff. And I walked into this crystal room, and my husband was standing right beside me, and I literally had to grab his arm, because the force that came at me nearly knocked me over. And I grabbed him, and he was like, oh my God, what's wrong? And I was like, dude, we need to get out of here, because I can't stand it. It was that strong. And then we had to go and pay for the other stuff that we had. And I had to literally hold on to the counter and then just not move away from the counter. And that's when Tosca went, you have to help me. What's going on? And all it was grounding. But people would think that was like, they would try to put a tag on it, like I did, like, that's vertigo, or maybe I haven't eaten enough, or haven't drunk enough water. But since I do my exercises now with grounding, and I'm aware of it, it's completely different.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I agree. Grounding is so important, especially when you do go into these things, to keep yourself grounded. It's, I agree. I think, we can activate our sympathetic, parasympathetic systems that go fight or flight or freeze. And it's like, because we don't know how to respond, we're feeling unsafe. And that is a really important cue to find your connection, find your safety, ground back in, and then come back in and really check in with what's going on. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
That's amazing.
It's amazing. Yeah. And I think when people do open up to their intuition, and they start, for the want of a better word, because we're always awakening, but when they're starting to really open and receive, it can be really scary. You can think, am I going crazy here? Am I really losing the plot here? Am I? No?
Yeah, totally. I totally get what you're saying. Yeah. I think, because I've experienced that, as I'm sure a lot of other people, when things start happening, and it's kind of exciting at the start, and then something hit me, and I was like, oh God, but what if something bad happens? What if I invite something bad in, and I really shut down in that part of our course that we did, because I was like, oh my God, what's going on? But yeah, I don't know, something then clicked again, and I was okay. I think it was doing the meditation probably helped. A lot.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I agree with you. I think, if you're scared doing intuition, or you're unsure, or it's unfamiliar, to actually go to a trusted person to, seek more, and to actually find out how you're going, because it can be very scary. And support, like, I know I have my mentors that support me. You have your mentors. Like, it's really important to find a trusted mentor that can support that.
Yeah, I think it's very important. Very,
Mm.
very important to do. Absolutely. I mean, you're one of them. You are my main support mentor in that world for sure. So
Mm.
yes, good old woohoo, hey?
Woohoo, 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 you know? Yeah.
Yeah, we could go really woohoo on everybody, but we don't want to scare you. You should be a fly on the wall when we have dinners.
That's it. When we have our conversations. Yeah.
It can be quite interesting.
Mm.
Quite interesting, for sure.
For sure.
Oh dear. So what else do you think about woohoo, Tosca?
Yeah, I believe that just because it's not science or it's not researched yet, it doesn't make it not right or not true.
Yeah.
You know, I think there's quite a demarcation in our, I don't know what you call it, but between this woohooey stuff and science based, the science is slowly catching up.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
just because it's not science doesn't mean it's wrong, it's bad, it's, you know, we are living in the edge of new I was going to say paradigms. Like we're really moving to new realities and we're stepping forward in our own evolution, in our own trust with ourselves. And that's the main thing, is to find that for yourself. And and on the journey, which is the trickiest part, is to trust yourself.
Well, it is. And I think a lot of people don't, because we've been I don't like to use the word programmed, but you know, it's true, because everybody is influenced by what they see in the media, social media, especially TV, and what we see, and we're surrounded by so much negativity, because it's quite unusual for a news program or a newspaper to tell us something positive. Like they'll have little stories about something really good that happened, but 8 or 9 times out of 10, it's all the horrible stuff in the world. And I think we've been programmed to kind of not trust ourselves, that we have to look to those things for direction, when it doesn't always work for everybody, and it's not great. So yeah, coming inward and trusting yourself and kind of sitting back and just thinking for yourself, you know, that's one of the big things that people don't do anymore, is they think that they're thinking for themselves, but they're actually not, because what they've got in their mind has been put there by media, social media, television shows, blah, 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 blah. And there's a great Australian man who's come to the forefront in the last couple of years, and his name's Ricardo Bosi, and he is one of the first to say to you, you may think that you're thinking for yourself, but just kind of take a minute and wonder where your beliefs are coming from. You know, have they been slowly and quietly given to you over the years, like growing up and all that sort of stuff? So yeah, when he said that to me, I was like, oh, that's big, because it's true, you know, because so many people are divided on what they think, and it's a lot of the time. I'm not going to get political. I'm not going to go down that pathway, because nobody's going to agree, and we don't talk about politics. But some people follow that party, and some people follow that party, and some people follow this party, and they're actually following what that party's telling them, what they're doing and how they should think. So that's just an example, but I'm not going to go into it. But that's my question. That's what I want to say to people is, are you thinking your thoughts yourself, or have they been influenced? Because you're not trusting what's really coming from your own heart.
True.
So yeah.
Very true.
That was a big wake up for me when I heard that statement.
Yeah, I can see. That was like, whoa, what am I thinking? And who's directing my thoughts? Am I directing my thoughts, or am I allowing my thoughts to be directed and influenced by something or someone else?
Yeah, it's a big one, because it's hard to decipher.
Yeah.
Really hard to decipher.
Yeah.
Which is why I don't watch the news anymore.
Yeah.
And it's not because, it's not because I'm a hippie type person who wants to live in the trees and stuff. It's because I just don't want to hear about all the horrible things that people are doing to each other, or, yeah, it's just horrible. And I just think that it turns us away, and it's definitely an influence upon us to feel negative. Whereas if you do switch off the news, you'll probably be a little bit happier.
Yeah. I agree with you. And I think we deserve to honor ourselves with censorship, to actually take the control of censorship and going, am I listening? Is what I'm listening to really going to be of service to me or service to my loved ones or service? And to actually make that decision, is it time to turn it off? Because listening to negative and all of the traumas in the world, and I'm not saying not to be informed. We need to be aware and informed and make informed choice. Listening can actually start a vicarious trauma response in the body.
Yeah.
So, I think not only for ourselves, for our children, for our family, to actually think, is this really what I want to listen to? Is this really important to me right now? Is this helpful, loving to me and my family? If not, turn it off.
Yeah, turn it off. And it's not being oblivious to the world. And it's not, deciding that you don't want to be a part of it. It's just that you just don't need to hear it 24/7.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. What a wonderful chat.
Yes. We'll have to have more.
We will. Next time we'll have to bring our cup of teas and
I've just got water.
Yeah. Our chat together. It's been gorgeous again, hanging out with you.
No, it's always gorgeous hanging out with you, and it's always a great chat. I mean, half the time the chats that we have when we're just having one of our catch-ups is probably a podcast in itself. We need to make notes of what we're talking about, because we could probably just make so many podcasts and so many Zooms about it. Yeah.
So true. And, I'm going to invite our beautiful listeners to actually give us comments. Like if this is something that they've experienced or what they think, or would like other topics to be discussed. Like we would love to hear from our people who follow us and love and like our podcast. So yeah,
that'd be great.
Yeah,
we'd love that. And subjects as well.
Yeah,
there's something that you want us to talk about, or even if you want to come on and talk about it, send us a DM, send us a message.
Yeah,
we'd love it.
Yeah, we would. Yeah, we want to share more of these flower bands around the world, don't we?
We certainly do. We've got a whole heap of them. The link will be below if you want to become a fierce goddess and have one of these yourself. There are a lot of different ones that are pretty cute.
Very cute. Oh, well, thank you. It's been lots of fun yet again.
Yeah.
And big love to you, and see you soon.
Big love to you too.
Thank you for listening to our Glorious Fierce Goddess Collective podcast. Remember to subscribe and share it with your family and friends. And from our heart to yours, please, goddesses, keep fierce.